I think they all have read 1984, and it's pretty
They're
clear they've
using
all
it
read
as a
1984,
they're using it
and
as a
they're kind of
guide.
demonstrating that by the types of things that they're saying. So,
This is the U.S. intelligence agency, Mind Control.
hey guys, how's it going? So, after the recent tragic events in El Paso and Dayton, we've had politicians telling us what they're going to
Nice
do to
AK.
keep us safe and make sure this never happens again. Now,
This
of
guy's
course,
not going to have a good analysis.
we need to get rid of the guns, ban the guns, limit who can get guns, and in many cases, even calling for out and out confiscation. Well, this is to be expected. But what about the Republicans? What are they saying? Well,
What's with the
started off by me
66 of the
seeing
triangle?
Representative Crenshaw. He got on there and said, well, we need to have his TAPS Act put into place. Well, this kind of penalizes thought crime and wants to punish or arrest people who might commit a crime or who the government has done a mathematical equation on or is suspicious of that might do something wrong. So basically, to punish somebody who might do something wrong before they do it.
Hold on.
What does that sound like?
Oh
Well,
god. That's not 1984. That's Minority Report, dickhead.
Well, he's talking about thought crime, bro.
Well, that's not thought crime.
If
That's
you're
future
if
crime.
you have like abuse on your record, and
Well, yeah.
this is the gaslighting around like common sense gun laws, you know, where it's like, hey, maybe if somebody is prone to violence and being crazy, like the one kid who tried to shoot up that club should have had his guns taken away.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is that you know the picture of the airplane where it has the holes in it? You know what I'm talking about? The picture?
I have no idea.
Survivorship bias, right? So
okay.
the plane came back, and every time, and these are tracking planes that landed with bullet damage, right?
Yeah.
So the survivorship bias would make you think that's where planes are being hit and where you need the armor, but it's actually where you're not seeing bullets on planes coming back, right? If the plane lands and it has a hole in it, it's logged, right? This is a hypothetical. It's not a real example. So it's a hypothetical plane, right? So these are the dots that are logged, right? So each time it lands, it gets a dot if it has a bullet hole, right? Mm-hmm. So they would think that you would put the armor where it's being shot, but you want it where it's not coming back with bullet holes, because if it's getting shot here, it's not landing. That's the survivorship bias.
Right?
Okay,
yeah, I got
So when you think about this in red flag laws, so I could name one guy who should have had it banned, right? And I'm not that into guns and every like dissection, right? So one guy, it was that guy who went into the nightclub, right?
Yes.
And the Marine beat the shit out of him. The recent one.
Yes, it was.
The Colorado Springs one.
Oh, the Colorado one. Yeah, right.
So that's the thing is like he should have had red flag regs triggered on him. But the thing is like when we see mass shootings, they're legally obtained firearms, and right wingers want to act like this is a point. Like it's like, oh, so you're not stopping the mass shootings. We don't know that. It's a survivorship bias.
Yes.
And also like a lot of the people, they've been like highlighted by the FBI, you know, like because they may have searched something like that, and they're like, oh, if the FBI knew about it, clearly the FBI wants this to happen. It triggered laws to take our guns away. Let's like
it's the whole they're feds, right?
Yeah, but it's like the FBI, they went to this person because they seemed like they got something that seemed to be concerning, right? Like maybe a lot of firearms, maybe some explosive reports, something like that. That person then has no violent record. You know, it's like a young kid, right?
Yeah.
That is like, you see, they'll be like 18, 20, that range.
Yeah. But it's so hard with.
We just don't know how many mass shootings have theoretically been prevented by these laws.
Yeah, it also goes back to what we always talk about, how it should be 21. Because most of them.
Well, I think that's I think the thing about the 21 thing that I bring up is
streamline everything.
Well, it's one of the few that I think would work at a federal level.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a federal solution to a lot of things in America because of how divided we are. But that's the point. That's the advantage of America and the disadvantage. But
Yeah.
the 21 thing is like, it's my example of specifically targeting the problem we want to solve. You know, it's not banning all guns, right? If we care about mass shootings because they impact us more culturally, emotionally
Yes.
than crime we don't see. You know, that's our kids being killed.
Yeah.
So if that's what we want to prevent, those are going to be the hardest ones to prevent at the same time, because
Yeah.
those acts tend to be so random.
Yeah, and it goes back into my whole. I think we both agree on this, that they're categorized into three categories of mass shootings. There's the mimetic sort of identitarian ones, the stochastic ones, which are random, and then the crimes against society.
The thing is that a lot of them plan way in advance and then just end up being like, no, today's the day I'm doing it, right? And are there warning signs there? Can we thought crime and minority report people in that regard? No, but making the age of gun ownership older,
Higher, yeah, could do something.
It could address specifically the mass shooting problem more than red flag laws might. Red flag laws might help with like domestic homicide.
Violence, yeah,
domestic homicide, things like that.
Who? It was Minnesota, right? That they introduced a false reports or sort of
Minnesota, and the guy who also, the governor of Minnesota, was also like, he was a gun owner who was passing the gun law too. And this is coming from Crenshaw, and Crenshaw, I've said several times, is the guy who said they should be running in front of the GOP. I think red flag laws are really more of, if we're talking about the implements from the conservative branch, red flag laws should be the only thing they get behind as far as their platform goes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's like leaning ground on anything, because
no, it's such a hard discussion to have, because it's the same problem that you have with discussing mass shootings themselves, right? Is that it's so emotional. The people that want to keep their guns are so emotional about it the same way people who are pro gun control are so emotional about it too. You can't have this level discussion.
Well, a lot of it is because one side is being gaslit more than the other. So, and if you look at in Australia and other places like Serbia, they just banned all the guns, right? Because they don't have the gun lobby already in the way. So, like, if the gun lobbies and the NRA weren't there, we'd have banned guns like Australia did a long time ago. It's really the protection of the lobbyists at this point that it's made it part of like the culture to have like these types of weapons. And like, I have no problem with people owning AKs from like a historical perspective and stuff, but I think the assault rifle type culture is kind of cringe.
We had the president get on TV. I'll give the president a little credit. He didn't call for out and out gun control. That's great. But what he did call...
What is out and out gun control? What counts as gun control?
Call for is gun control by other means, violations of the Second Amendment, Fourth, Fifth, and others. And he reinvigorated his whole idea of the red flag laws, which is originally called take the guns first, due process later. Then he switched it up earlier and said he wants rapid due process. Well, I'm a little suspicious of that. And it sounds like to me that maybe he didn't read a certain book.
Oh, no.
I'm wondering if the president and Lindsey Graham, who was also recalling for red flag laws, which he supports, and he's the chairman of the committee that would get this red flag law to the Senate floor, I think to myself, maybe they didn't read the book 1984, because George Orwell already warned about things like people turning in their neighbors, where if you can manipulate people enough and get them scared enough that they won't even know how many fingers somebody's holding up. And I think, well, there's no way these people ever read this book. And
neither did you, my dude.
Then I thought about it a little bit further, and I said, you know what? I think they all have read 1984. And it's pretty clear they've all read 1984.
They're using it
and they're kind of demonstrating that by the types of things that they're saying. So keep in mind, it's not just the Democrats that are after you.
Do you see what I mean? That 1984 worshippers are as dumb as Marxists.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as like the bougie stuff.
Yeah.
Guns, and you're right. It seems to be both major parties right now. And when the Republicans do it, it's even a little scarier because they'll hold the Constitution high and they'll say, we want to protect your Second Amendment rights. We want to protect your rights to keep and own guns. Heard Lindsey Graham saying earlier that I don't want to take your guns. I want there to be due process. Even though, like I said earlier, red flag laws are take the guns first, then due process. And that's kind of a conundrum that's not very settling. So as these people hold the Constitution high and they quote from it and they say, we have your back, we're not taking your guns, we're going to follow the Constitution, but then they propose laws, they're going to undermine most, if not all, of the Bill of Rights. Just remember, as Shakespeare said, even the devil can cite scripture for his purposes.
He's
All right, guys.
Okay, buddy. Here's the thing, though. All right. In theory, I would rather have preventative measures. I would take all the guns, and then as long as you're not permanently taking anything away and there's a process to like reclaim them and stuff.
To get it back. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I don't really care.
Yeah. Because it's not taking it. It's just being like, hey, we have a feeling that you might do something. There's a process.
Also, judging by the background and all the ammo this guy has, you think that he might be motivated by the market on this one?
Possibly.
He wants to sell guns to psychopaths who will shoot their wives because it's profit in his pocket.
Might be why.
Well, that was a nice short video on survivorship bias and why 1984 is cringe.